Thank you so much, Maritu. When I hear about myself, I was like, wow, I'm pretty awesome. uh, Thank you all so much for coming. You guys, I don't know who's been here you guys have been here for a little bit, so thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being so patient. First, I want us to start with kind of just deep breath work. Let's just take some deep breaths, help us ground ourselves. For me too, not just for you guys. So we're just gonna take a few deep breaths, 3 deep breaths, it should be good. Take in 4, hold it for 4, and exhale for 4. And then just be present. Just do one more. Okay, how do you feel? Feel good, right? Like my toes were starting to relax a little bit. Thank you so much. This is my first book, guys. This is my first book. I am so thankful. First, I want to just say thank you, and I want us to kind of. So the way we're gonna do this is we also do. I also do a lot of programs around healing, wellness, self-awareness. So I'm just going to merge the two, so I'm not just reading poems, because you can buy the book and read the poems, right? So just to kind of give you a flow, even though you are here, probably to hear me speak, I would also like this to be a little bit more engaging. I'm going to ask you some questions. Do not worry. I do not bite, I promise. So I'm just going to encourage you to share some thoughts with me about healing. But there's no pressure. I don't even pressure my 6-year-old, whom you heard humming. That was him in the background as we were taking deep breaths. To give you a little bit of kind of the flow, I'm going to read a poem, my first poem on here. We'll talk a little bit about my own healing journey and what healing means for me and why this book was written to begin with and kind of what my hope is with this book. And then I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to want to know what healing means to you. But don't think about it now. I see some of your mind is already starting to... You don't have to think about it right now. We'll discuss, we'll discover. My hope with this is obviously for you to buy the book. Okay, obviously that's one of my books, my hopes. But every single program that I do, my hope is always to help us connect with ourselves and then ultimately with each other. So first poem, and then we'll have a section for Q&A, and then afterwards we'll do a signing part. Okay, so the first poem that I'm going to read is called The Dance of Healing. When you decide to start digging without knowing what you'll find, you're filled with hopes and expectations of what your healing journey will look like. You think it's going to be linear, you'll go inward and one door will lead to another. But the reality is, my dearest, healing is more like a dance. You hear the beat of your emotions, and when it's nice and slow, you tell yourself, oh, this is undemanding. Then without warning, you start crying. The humming of emotions you've never noticed are now demanding your attention. You have no clue how to adjust, so you give yourself time to listen. Once you're accustomed to the new beat, you get right back to it. The consistent changing is your new reality, one that cannot be predicted. The moment you decided to start healing, unknowingly you accepted the jumping, sliding, running, and falling. Whatever happens, don't stop. The show must go on. Though it's hard, this is one dance that must be done. Keep swaying to the beat of your healing journey, and whenever you're exhausted, just remember why you started. The real you is in there somewhere, waiting to be freed. So this is the first poem. For about 3-4 years, so I was born in Ethiopia. we should start beginning a little bit. I was born in Ethiopia. I grew up in New York. And for anyone who's kind of jumped ship and going into a new place where now your sense of identity is shaken, you're learning a new language, a new way of being, like literally everything that you thought you know nothing about. But we came as kids, so you know, within our culture, it's more, and I never blame, right? It's more just understanding and context. It was more like we're just going to run around. We're just going to go to the next thing you got to do. You got to get to school. You got to help your younger sisters. You got to make sure you go to school. Like that was the routine. My parents are just trying to figure out what life is like in a new land, raising 3 kids. And in the midst of that, you're not thinking about who I am. Who am I in this space? Who am I in this country? Who am I in this language? How am I identifying myself? You don't think that way, right? Like you just keep running to the next thing, and you fast forward into college where you no longer have the support of your family because I see a mixture of cultures here. Ethiopia is a very communal culture. Like we hold each other very tight-knit and we support each other that way. And then you go to a school where you're literally the only Ethiopian and you're just like trying to figure out what is happening. So the figuring out what my identity was. First of all, I didn't even know what identity was. Let me tell you something, okay? You just get what you get and you just keep moving. And then I finished college, still in New York. New York, has anyone lived in New York? Has anyone been to New York? I see some hands. Okay, like the word is ambitious, right? Like it's a very ambitious culture. It's a go, go, go culture. Like if you miss your train, you're going to be late culture, okay? And in that culture, you don't get a chance to reflect, to try to figure out who you are in your sense of yourself. You're just going to get from point A to point B. And add to it that I was in banking, which is a very male-dominated, culture, and you are told that in order for you to be successful, you have to show up in this way. So part of this way was, I don't want to say masculine, but it was kind of masculine, right? Like you have to be able to roll with the boys. You have to be able to, whatever the jokes they're saying, whatever the environment, you have to be able to fit into that. And then I got sick. I got sick in 2012. And in the midst of that, I used to dance. I'm a self-taught Ethiopian cultural dancer. And I learned on my own to try to connect with my Ethiopian culture and identity. And then I started teaching kids, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I performed on summer stage in New York. I performed in different places. And then once I was done with performing, it's anybody seen like the Orominya dance with the head like this swivel? Yeah, I did that, and your girl almost passed out, okay? It was so bad. And then I found out that I had a very rare, I used to say I'm special, is how I looked at, that's how I tell my story. But I had what's called Arnold-Chiari syndrome, which basically means part of your brain is out of your skull. So it gets lower over here. Most people don't know that. Again, the way I tell the story, though, I'm like, just means I'm brilliant because I have a big head, Right after, I needed to do surgery. And when I first found out I needed to do surgery, I didn't even wait. Like, the doctor said, sir, and I was out. Like, have you seen those cartoon characters that just, pshum, and all you saw it was dust bunnies? That's all I did. Because the idea that you're going to cut into me, what? No, I'm out. For 5 years, I learned to cope with it. I learned to sleep better. I learned to de-stress, remove myself from things that were stressful. I still didn't understand that this was something that I needed to do. And not until I started getting like tingly fingers and tingly toes, and I went to a doctor, and after one performance where I told you guys I got sick, the doctor's like, it's gonna keep getting worse where you won't be able to walk. I said, what? Or use your hands. A lot of people don't know the story. I'm just realizing I've never shared it publicly. And so the funny thing was when he said you can't walk, I was like, are you saying I can't wear heels? Oh, that's not. I love wearing high heels, obviously. And then, I had a kid. Now I'm wearing wedges. Let's move on from that. But after, it was a reality check for me because part of me was, I am a dancer, right? I am a performer. I am a banker. I had this I am thing. And then I put it in with all the things that was really not me, but they were the things that I was doing. I didn't understand that. Post-surgery, I moved to California. And this is where my healing journey started. Because California, you're not running. You're just being present. You're being in nature. You're being around the waters. You're being around the sun. And you're being with yourself. And so if you don't know who that is, it can be very overwhelming, right? So, and at the time, my now late sister was also living there, so it was the two of us trying to, and she was way ahead of me in like understanding herself. She's the middle child, so I just thought she was just being rebellious. But now I understand that she knew something that I didn't understand, which was before you can connect with others, because I'm a social butterfly, I'm a full extrovert. Before you can connect with anybody else, you have to be able to connect with yourself. You have to be able to see yourself fully before you can truly see others. I didn't understand that until I got to LA, until, honestly, I started going back to church. I started praying more. I started, again, part of my identity became just not what my society was telling me or what my parents' expectation was or my society from in New York, what I thought they wanted of me, but it was just, okay, what does BT want? Where am I at and who am I? I found myself in Christ. I started serving in church. I started doing all those things. And even then I realized now, this was 2012, okay, 2014. Now I realize even then I didn't know myself. So one of the poems that I want to read for you is called I Am. Because in the midst of this journey, and really later on as I continued my journey in motherhood, journey in better understanding myself, 35 says, I am not who you expect me to be, nor am I the structure of society. I am not to be put in a corner to fit into a mold to look like another. I am not the person you saw yesterday. You need to update with a new version of me. I am not responsible for your grief. I also can't take credit for your bliss. I am not going to co-sign to the mold you're creating, to coerce me to fit into your limited beliefs of me. No, I will not accept any of them, because at the end of the day, I am who I say I am. I think this specific poem is not something that I didn't write it until about 3 years ago, but I didn't even realize I was learning this lesson until life kind of, life's journey continued to go. I want to fast forward a little bit, yada, yada, yada. Has anybody seen that? Yada, yada. You live your life. Then I moved I was tired of like beautiful weather all the time and decided to come back to the East Coast. Moved to the DMV. It was to be closer to my family who was in New York. I also have family here in Virginia. And then fast forward and I had my beautiful son. My beautiful son, who is now 6 years old. Yes, that's good job, Bobby. He is an active listener, okay? And when I was first pregnant, I asked myself, I actually have a video that I'm not going to play for you because you don't need to see that, trust me. But the video was when I was like, I know I'm pregnant. Like I'm gonna test myself. And I tested myself and it was positive, and I recorded myself, like my expression, and I was already in love with my son. I was already in love with him before he was even born. But then I remember asking myself, what kind of mother do I want to be? How do I want to show up for my son, and what do I want my son to be like? So I'm going to read, and this is really the main part of my healing. I'm getting water, guys, because this being a mom really, truly helped me to see myself fully. I'm going to, if my voice gets shaky, please give me grace. Okay. I'm glad oh man, he put the camera back. Okay. This is gonna be titled The Magnitude of Motherhood. And the journey kind of starts a little bit after I gave birth, okay? Once I became a mother, I was changed forever. My son birthed the me I knew was always there. You see, the real me was hiding behind expectations and people-pleasing. Walls of disappointment, pain, and hurt imprisoned my authenticity. I'm starting to gradually see my light, though, but the movement to break the walls, the ones erected over the years, continues. The moment I knew I was pregnant, I viewed myself in a different light. I understood the magnitude of what it means to enter motherhood. It was no longer just about me. Now and forever, it's about we. How I show up for you will impact eternity. In order to accept you fully, I must first embrace me. Yeah, you see why this is why I was getting watery eyes. My motherhood journey is one that birthed Keenat Bates, one that birthed the healing and wellness work that I do in our community. It helped me see myself truly in love. And I think this is probably a good time to talk about who this this book is also dedicated to my son, by the way. And it says, to my son Johannes Theodros, observing your joy and freedom in being yourself has led me to heal. Thank you for being you. I love you unconditionally. Watching my son being his, the I am comment, like freely out of nowhere, like the way I grew up, you're not supposed to say a word when adults are talking, right? But being able to see him being himself fully, observing his routines, observing his joy. I was like, oh, wait, were we all like that when we were first born? Before we were told, don't do this and don't do that, no to this and no to that? It made me think about that. It made me question, why am I saying no to myself? Why can't I do the thing that I know that's on a subconscious level that's driving me? But consciously, the walls that are there that are not allowing me to go make the connections, right? To why am I not speaking? Why am I being quiet? The people pleaser? Oh my God. Okay, like I'm the oldest in the family, and people pleasing. Y'all, okay, did you feel it when I was breathing out? Because man, and I'm the oldest, and I'm also, again, within our communal culture, it's the wellness of the whole is what's focused within our culture. And it's beautiful when everybody else is also thinking about the wellness of the whole. So like if I'm thinking about you guys, I know that all of you would be thinking about me. So it's a lot easier for me to think about you because I'm not going to be wondering if I'm thought of as well. But living in an individualistic culture, like here, you worry about everybody else, and then you're left with no one to worry about you. So, and my mother, I think my motherhood journey and my healing journey in general says, okay, am I expecting people to hold the door for me? Am I expecting people to care about me? Am I expecting them to? Am I expecting myself to do those things for other people? Earlier in the poem, I said, I am not responsible for your bliss, right? I realized that I don't have to make you happy, which means you don't have to make me happy, because happiness and joy is within. It's something that comes from inside of each of us. That's one of the things I tell my son when he says, "Mommy, you made me mad." I said, "No, papi, you felt mad. And that's okay. Like, you can feel mad, but you don't give me the power to tell me that I'm the one who made you mad." So there was a lot of that. In the last maybe 4 years, my family and I went through a lot of trials and tribulations with health issues, just a whole bunch of stuff. And let me tell y'all, this is where this book was birthed. I didn't even know I can write poetry until I was going through all this turmoil, a lot of heavy seasons, and a lot of these lessons that I was learning that maybe I didn't have the full awareness to do so, really came to full play when I was going through, separation from my marriage, my father getting sick, my sister like all these personal tribulations. It just felt like boom, 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 boom. Like, have you guys ever had that in your life when it's just like, it's just a season. It's just a season. And I was like, a season lasts for 3 months, Lord? Like, it's been a year, 2 years. Like, what is happening? I understand now that those seasons, those difficult times were allowing me to utilize these aha moments. These poems are from those aha moments, these lessons that I was learning, that I was being forced to learn. And I will tell you, the year that everything changed in 2021, one of my prayers, so every year I have a word. I kind of stopped after that word, I'm not going to lie to you. Every year I have a word, and for that year, the word was peaceful. Like, I just want to have peace. So every aspect of my professional life, well, the professional life kind of died because I decided to stay home with my son. That's another conversation later, but it was peaceful. And in order for me to get to the peace in December 31st, you know what that meant? Removing things that you thought was valuable, that was for me. Like, the relationships that I thought were the most important to me crumbled. People that I thought that I couldn't live without, gone. Like, I'm just like, Lord, I know I said peaceful. Can you maybe, pull them a little bit slower, like further apart so I can process? He's like, no, you can handle it. Take this one, and take this one, and take this one. What I have learned in my healing process is, just like I said at the beginning, healing is like a dance. I'm a dancer, right? So, well, I do dancing. I am is not the word. And dancing is about movement. It's about adjusting. It's about hearing the beat, because the beat can change. The beat of our lives can change. The circumstances can change. But I realized that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the season. What matters is how we process it. And this morning, as I was kind of reflecting and meditating, and my meditation is not like meditation, okay? Just I'm doing something very mundane, but my mind has a question, and I'm not thinking about it actively. I'm just doing the thing, and it just comes. This is why I believe that answers like that are not really from us, but it's from above. I believe this wholeheartedly. So it's not, don't give me credit. I'm just going to share with you. A thing is a thing until we give it value, and then it becomes something, right? Like, a thing is just a thing. Like, this paper is just a paper, but because it has my program on it, now it's something for me, something of value for me. So what I started learning was, a thing is just a thing. A season is just a season. Understanding that allowed me to determine, how do I show up in this season? How do I show up in this circumstance? How do I show up in these relationships? How do I show up for me? Not from other people, not from I didn't want it to have the value that I didn't give it. A thing is just a thing until we give it value, and then it becomes something, right? So I'm going to read seasons for you guys. And then I'm going to ask you guys to reflect, okay? Seasons is... Yes, page 51. This is a short one, okay? Seasons. We all go through different seasons. Some impact us positively, where we live, love, laugh loudly. Other seasons impact us heavily, where we're filled with pain, loss, and uncertainty. Whatever your season, just remember, nothing lasts forever. You can't wish the heavy seasons away, but you can practice being planted in joy. So that's one thing I needed to understand. When all of this was falling apart, I remember thinking, like, I recognize that this is falling apart. Like, I recognize that this person is sick. I understand that, obviously I'm thinking, I can't believe this is my life. Like, that's the truth, right? I can't believe that I'm separated. I can't believe that dad is sick. I can't believe this. It's like, I keep remembering, but I remember saying, I'm so thankful I have my son. I'm so thankful that I'm breathing. I'm so thankful that I have the energy to fight this change, right? To fight the season, to fight. Like, I was so thankful. I was so thankful. And I remember, and I don't know if some of you guys know me from early 2000s during COVID that are here. We used to have a program. I used to have a program on Clubhouse called Gratitude and Mindfulness Hour, where we practiced mindfulness and gratitude, where we practiced out loud how to say thank you. Not like, so again, we're very God-centric. In Ethiopian culture, it's very God-centric culture. So like gratitude goes up, right? Goes up to the Lord, goes up. But it's never like, from here to here, but it's never here to here. It's never like within. So I learned as I was teaching, I remember telling people, what are you thankful for? I'm so thankful that I passed my test. And I remember saying, okay, so I'm so thankful. I'm going to say, I used to practice. I used to be like, I'm thankful that I made the commitment to study. I'm thankful that I walked away from things that were easy, like playing out, being on social media, being whatever, to choose the things that are value to me. So then that gratitude, that perception, right, starts to focus or remove ourselves from the end result and start talking about what are we doing. So that helped me a lot in my own healing journey. So all of this is like, it felt like it was on fire. So I'm like, so what am I doing right now? Right? Like, what am I doing? What am I saying? How am I showing up? That's the only thing I have control over. I'm going to pause here a little bit. Not because I can't talk. Trust me, I can talk. But I would love for us to kind of reflect a little bit. What does healing mean for you? If I can hear one or two people, that would be amazing. But if not, I'm not going to put pressure on anybody, okay? That's not a wellness conversation. Has anyone been on their own healing journey here? Or a wellness journey? Consciously. Oh, I see a hand. Yes, 2. Okay. Yes. Oh, 3. I love it. What is the one thing that you've learned or you've aha moment? And I can come to you. I don't mind standing up.
I think I can talk loud.
Okay. All right. I love it.
I think for me, I just realized that my life is always going to be in transition. And like you said, there are high times and low times. And so when you're high, just be really happy. And when you're low, really just allow yourself to feel what that feels like.
Yes. Okay, listen. That deserved that. Come on, people. Okay. I love that. We're always in transition. Yes. And I do appreciate that you didn't say good or bad. I was hoping you didn't, and I appreciate you didn't. High and low. Good and bad, it means we're judging the moment. We don't judge the moment. We just recognize it. I love that. Was there somebody else? Lesson that you learned in your healing wellness journey? I remember somebody raised their hand. Yes. No, I think they're gonna. He's gonna. They're making sure that we're paying attention.
Okay. Can everybody hear me now?
Yes. Thank you.
In my healing journey, what I've realized is that self-esteem means accepting oneself in all of its iterations, not just when we're successful, accepting our failures, accepting that part of ourself that we may be afraid that will be rejected by others. If we can accept that, I can maintain a sense of peace and joy regardless of the circumstance.
Yes, yes. Come on, let's go. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. I can do one more. By the way, like facilitating conversation is also one of the things I do. So don't, make me start getting y'all involved. Thank you so much for sharing that. It makes me think of, okay, so I want to say two things. One, there are two poems I want to read for you, which I think kind of goes with what was just shared. Change is inevitable, right? Like change is inevitable. Observing that, this is what saved, I think, for me, as things were changing. I remember at one point, because I've been practicing mindfulness for a few years at this point, I remember feeling like when I was talking to someone, there was literally fear building in my body. Like, I remember my mouth would get watery, and then my stomach would get tighter, and like literally just. And I understand, like now I understand the connection between the mind and the body, that the emotions we don't release show up in our bodies, without a doubt. I know when I was feeling grief all up in here, my upper back, from losing my sister about 8 months ago. I was done. Like for about 2-3 years, she was sick. And for 2-3 years, my doctor, my chiropractor's like, do you know what happened? And I was like, yes, I've been grieving. I know I've been grieving. And because he is an Asian doctor, so he does East and Western medicine, he's like, yes, this is where grief sits. I mean, he went to school to learn that. I just knew my body, right? And I remember thinking to myself in this process, the way I overcame that is I was like, oh no, like I see what's happening. Like I talked to this person and my mouth would get watery, my stomach would get in a knot. And I remember asking myself, what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? And I literally processed that. And once I processed that, I'm like, oh, am I there? Like, am I safe right now in this moment? Am I safe? Yes. Is there any possibility of me being in danger when I'm talking to this person? No. And I cannot, it seems like I'm making this up, but I remember the instant relief my body felt. Like the next time I spoke to this person, I was no longer, like I'm talking to them, there was no issue. There was no fear, right? Like there was, has anybody been hit as a kid? The way your hand jumped up. Yes, you're not the only, like 2 hands, 3 hands. Exactly. Like I was hit, and I remember it wasn't the hitting, it was the build up to the hitting, right? Like the build up. Oh, we're going to talk about it later. Oh my God. Like, can later be now? Let's just get it over with, right? And I realized at that moment that I was having the same reaction I was having as a kid, that I was talking to this person. And I didn't realize until that moment the impact that fear has had on my life. Like, I did not realize how it was showing up in my body, how it was showing up for the people in front of me from things that happened in the past. So, side note, because there's someone here I really love, Yosef Nuchik Arnavka. He has a business. One of the most important things that I've learned in my healing journey is the things that we carry into adulthood. Literally, almost all of them started as kids. And as children, like the people pleasing, literally, I used to try to make sure I don't upset my family, my parents, so I don't get hit. So you start paying attention to what would appease them. My mom doesn't hit. My dad rarely hits, but when he does hit, you make up for the 6 months you didn't get hit. So, and I remember, like, I didn't realize the things that we carry, the things that we've experienced as kids, like the things we've given value, or the things we're supposed to show up as, like, be patient. Let this pass. Fast forward. It shows up very differently as adults. That means you become patient with behaviors that are not in alignment with you, that are not with relationships that don't give you value, right? You give because you're defining it as being patient. You're defining it as being loving. And so part of those changes, and this is the part that I want to read, part of those changes and the things that we release, we grow through that process. I believe that wholeheartedly, that we grow through that process. But growth, that's the name of the next poem. Growth looks, I'm going to read two, okay? Growth and rewiring. Growth is going to be on page 9. I don't know why I keep telling you guys the pages. You don't have the books, I'm sorry. Growth. It's multidirectional. Some seen by the naked eye, while others are invisible. It's easy to spot those accepted by society. They're usually materialistic, like a house or a degree. The toughest ones to notice are the hardest ones to achieve. It's the acknowledging of past pains, the healing of traumas, and the forgiving of self and others. Growth looks different for everyone. For some are external while others are within. However your growth looks like, darling, focus on the next step you're taking. Don't expect a celebration when your root is spreading. The world will clap for what it sees, and the internal isn't it. But the way to truly shine your light is by growing and glowing from the inside out. It was so important for me during this process of change, when I was going through the seasons, that I didn't show up. I didn't show up for the community that I love and I love to serve, because the state that I was in, I couldn't give, because I needed to be given to. I needed to be nourished. I needed to grow. I needed to heal. And when I'm on social media, for those of you who know me from social media, anywhere whether I'm on the stage, I'm very conscious of the energy that I bring into a space, because energy is transferable. So before I sat down on this table, on this chair, before I started talking to you, I said a prayer. I've asked to be very intentional about the words that are coming, not from a place of pain, but from a place of joy, because it's a very joyful moment for me to be here with you guys talking about this book. This also tells me that there is a testimony in the test that I passed through, and that the journey that I've taken, like we all take, right? And there has been a lot of rewiring that I've had to do, relearning that I've had to do of the values that I've given things, the relationships, people, to myself. And I think I'm going to read Rewiring, and then the last one is going to be Gratitude. We have to end with gratitude, guys. I mean, obviously. And the reason why I wanted to read Rewiring, is because what I said earlier about part of our healing journey, what I've learned, and as I'm working with people, the definition that has been given to us is what we've been carrying into adulthood. And I have learned that I have to unlearn some of those and rewrite the definition and give value to things that are really important. And I remember asking myself at one point, I was like, do I really believe this still? Like this thing, like, do I have to show up when I'm exhausted? I don't have to show up when I'm exhausted. I'm tired. Like, I don't have enough in me. I don't have to show up. But in the past, because we're communal, I'm going to show up because my community needs me, so I'm going to show up. And that was the toughest thing for me to have to do. And I think a lot of us, and I don't think this is only a women-only issue, but I know it's very prevalent with us, because we're told to be gatherers, right? We're told men are conditioned to be leaders, and we're supposed to be the ones weaving the community together. So it tends to be a little difficult when you decide not to show up for a community gathering, because you feel like a part of you is not, like, your sense of identity is being questioned, whether you're actually a good enough friend, a good enough wazeta, fill in the blank. So I'm going to read Rewiring. I think that was 21, right? You have a book, I don't know. 21, right? And, okay. We're taught to be compassionate and expected to forgive others. We're to hold space for family and friends, but it's rarely ever for ourselves. I keep pouring, giving, being there. The moment I turn inward, the inner dialogue starts to murmur, I'm being selfish. I can't afford to do this. It isn't the right time. At least I'm not worse off. But then I operate manually, remove the control my auto response has on me. I say, I'm doing what I need. I can't afford to push this out. The right time to respond is now. It's not easy rewiring the brain, recognizing the multitude of pain, unlearning to learn a new path. It's so daunting to even start. Then I recall, this isn't Pain Olympics. I need not compare my season to others. Before I read gratitude, Reflections of Healing is a collection of poems that I wrote from lessons that I was learning through my life journey. It is not, if you're looking for like woe's me book, this is not it. My intention with this book is that, one, I'm writing it so that I don't forget the lessons from me, but then also I believe that if we all share with each other the lessons that we learn, will be so much better, because my journey is going to be different from yours. But if you give me guidance, I will not have to fall in the same pot that you that you fell through. That's one. And two, which is very, very important for me, it was like a form of release. I needed to have this for me, to remove it from me, to say, like, this is now a new book, a new chapter, not just a new chapter. It's going to be a new book of my life as my life is transitioning out of those very heavy seasons. It was very important for me to put this out. I want to tell you guys, do you know this lady on the cover? It's me, okay. I want to tell you a little bit about this cover. This cover was taken a little over 3 years ago in California. I was in California, my son was almost 3, and I was planning on breastfeeding until he was like whenever he wants, because we've been carrying these bad boys around. I figured like let him use it. And then we found out that my now late sister, she was sick. And I remember finding out over the phone, and I literally, my mom and I packed, like, she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. She was younger than me. So I remember like just being numb, right? Like imagine what you would feel in that moment, right? Just numb, pack, suitcase, leave. That's literally what happened. And when I got there, I remember a whole lot that I had to do. What did I say? I'm the oldest. So when you're the oldest, you're the one who has to lead a lot of these things. So the doctor conversations, advocacy, community, like every single thing was on me. And if anyone knows about breastfeeding, your hormones are all over the place when you stop breastfeeding, especially there's no weaning. It was like chop off and move on. And I remember feeling so overwhelmed. And I told my mom, Mommy, I need to go. Like, I'm going to come late. I think, no, at that time she had left. But I remember saying, I'm going to go grab coffee because I no longer have enough. Like, I don't have enough. I was feeling so overwhelmed, overstimulated, my hormones all over the place. And I said, I'm going to go for a coffee. And we have coffee. We're going to have this coffee today, guys. Okay, I know. But I said, I'm going to grab coffee. I remember Googling a spot, a hole-in-the-wall coffee shop in LA. And in the hole-in-the-wall spot, literally, like you have to get off the street, go into the little corner, and then it's like 3-4 stores that are there, and then it has like those vine-like plants in the back. It felt like an oasis. I was like, Lord, look at you just guiding me into the space. And I literally said coffee and like a little croissant or whatever, and I sat there and I was just watching people. I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't doing anything. I was just being present. And when I was done, the store closed, so they kicked me out. They're like, you're doing too much, it's time to go. And I remember it's this one. I took out my selfie stick, I put this on the car I was driving, and I took a picture, this picture, to remember this moment, that the season that I was in. And the reason why I took that picture is because before this day, I would have never, ever have said, I need a break. I would have never said, this is too much for me. Like, I need to, I would have never said that. I would have just kept running into the burning building, running into the streets, running anywhere that's I'm needed, I would have ran. This was my first time that I said, I feel overwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed, right? Like, I am not. I am is a form of identity. I was not, but I felt overwhelmed, and I needed to regulate. And so I decided to use this picture to remind myself, to remind me that it doesn't matter any part of the season that we're in, we can always take a break. We can always take a deep breath. We can always be present. We can always change the scene. I think I spent maybe an hour, and I felt so much better afterwards. Like, I was able to go be the joyful person that my sister needed, right? The one that talked to the doctors, the nurses. I could do that because I needed to take time for me. So if you take nothing from our conversation today, well, I hope you take the book. But if you don't take, if you take anything else from our conversation today, I'm hoping that you know that you are enough. Whether you do or you don't, you are enough. You are wonderful. You are loved, and you can take a break. Okay, you can take a break. I used to take a break even as a mom, a stay-at-home mom. I was like, okay, I'm done, son. Be in your crib. Like, we don't need to be playing all the time. So I'm gonna read gratitude. I think that would be a great ending. Gratitude is my current attitude, not because everything's all good, but because I'm in the mood to gaze upon all that I could. You and me, we are together in this journey. What we decide to see will determine what will be. That which we give attention to without a doubt will grow. So let's forget our worst and focus on what's best. Don't know about you, but this I know I want to do. Look ahead, practice gratitude, starve my ego and feed my soul. When life's idle and nothing seems possible, take a moment, stand erect, inhale goodness, and exhale doubts. Find the light in the sea of doubt. Remember, your problem's smaller than your powerful creator. Thank you so much, guys. I have time for a Q&A, I think. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Concerns that I brought my son here? That's also a possible question to ask. He's 6, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. Yeah, I guess, yes. Yeah, oh, I have 2. Okay.
Hi, yes, I have a question.
Yes.
So you mentioned a lot about your healing and the poems that you've written. I was just wondering if you could just walk us through a little bit about how that process actually unveiled. Did you get therapy? Did you speak? Like, if you could just speak more on the healing.
Okay, that's also, thank you. A piece of that is written in here. Thank you so much for asking. So part of the way I respond to things that were challenging was I go inward, because I've always been the one to provide the help. So asking for help was daunting. Okay, let me just say. And I remember I signed up for therapy, and the therapist, because I was crying, because I was literally in the middle of like all these life changes, and it was just a lot. And she's like, let me give you medication. I was like, okay, thanks. I did not go back to her. But maybe because I've done a lot of this work beforehand, I think that helped a lot. But I do remember feeling very overwhelmed, so much so and because I kept going inward, I couldn't even ask for help. My friends didn't even know. And because it was happening like in my core part of my life, I did not feel comfortable to share this with people. The on Clubhouse, on social media, through this gratitude and mindfulness program, we became these people that I've never met before, that have never seen before. Because Clubhouse was an audio-only app, you became so vulnerable with people. And the space that I had created was to help people be vulnerable, and it allowed me to become vulnerable in the process. And why I'm mentioning this is during that time, I had a friend of mine, Maklit. He sent me a message that morning. He's like, Betty, I have not seen you. This morning when I was praying, I thought of you. You came in my mind. So I just wanted to check in on you. I haven't seen you in a while. And my response was, I'm in a very heavy season. Keep me in your prayers. He was the first person outside of my family that I shared. And he asked me, can we pray for you? Again, people I've never met, okay? Random. They're not really random strangers for me, but we've never met. Like, I know you more physically than I knew them physically. I still have not met him in person, by the way, years later. But I said, okay. Listen, I have 5 minutes. This was my my response. Like, I have 5 minutes because I have a mom's group that I have to go lead and speak in. So I can come in for 5 minutes. Ma'am, I'm drowning and I'm okay. And so he said, yeah, sure, come on in. 35 minutes. That's how long I was there. And every person that was in that room that spoke were people that were part of my gratitude room. So they were pouring on me, and they were reminding me that I am not this moment, right? Like, I am not part of this moment. I think I attribute that to be the biggest factor and part of like my transitioning out of that feeling like I was stuck. The biggest part is, one, that was being poured into, but two, I cried a lot. I mean, 35 minutes of crying, like ugly crying, because nobody can see you. You're behind the screen and you're on mute. Like, nobody's going to... I was crying, and I did not realize... Well, I think I knew, but you don't know. You know what I mean? Like, until you go through that, I was holding on to so much. That crying really helped me release. Afterwards, I started praying again. I started writing again. I started reflecting, started talking. So the talk therapy wasn't necessarily with other therapists, but people who had cultural consciousness, the way, like, understanding how our culture was playing a role in how I'm showing up today. I think that was very important for me. And that's what I'm hoping to do for people with that are also needing help now, because those are the paths that I took. Thank you for asking that. You just reminded me, yeah. So the only part I want to add to that is healing looks so different for everybody. So this was my journey, and everyone will have a different path to getting to that destination. I'm going to say is what I tell my son is what I'm going to tell y'all. Cry as much as you need. Okay, that's all. I want to just say that. Thank you for asking. Yes.
Is it on?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, hi. I just want to say I wasn't coming today. Okay. I mean, I saw you, and then I have my beautiful friend here. She's a lovely young woman who I always tell her I'm going to come to something, and I never make it.
Oh, look at that.
Okay, because I don't mind sharing that I have a compromised immune system. So it's really difficult for me because, this mask thing is really... So you touched me today.
Thank you so much.
Many things. I don't want to cry.
Yeah, I want to cry.
I know you say cry, but the part about the son. Both of us have wonderful sons, and my son's a lot older because I'm a lot older. But he's schizophrenic and autistic, but a gifted 5-instrument playing musician.
You see what I mean?
Because of the Asperger's, but he's the love of my life. So when you said that, I said, oh my God, I'm feeling her.
Yes.
And then like your journey of getting sick, because after COVID, I got lupus, and I'm not trying to tell my history.
No.
But I am so very honored to be in your presence.
Thank you so much.
it's been a wonderful journey hearing about you. And I'm also a poet, so I wasn't being critical, but I'm like, this chick has it.
Listen!
And so thank you for sharing with us the healing.
Yeah.
I'm not talking for Marie, but, we're both on a healing journey.
Yeah.
And I love the way you speak it.
Thank
You
you so
just
much.
speak your feelings, because when I taught, I used to tell my kids, I knew I'll probably say, boy, this chick is monopolizing the mic.
You're not.
But
You're okay.
I used to tell my students when I taught high school, I retired in 2022, poetry is feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a poet. I said,
You
have
have feelings.
feelings?
Yeah, exactly. You have feelings, yeah.
so thank you,
That's
my
very
dear.
good. Thank you
You're
so much.
so
Thank you
beautiful
so
in
much. Thank
all
you so
kinds of
much.
ways, and your spirit is genuine.
Thank
and
you.
I am so honored to be in your presence.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate you. Oh my goodness. Yo, I'm gonna cry. Okay, somebody's over there. Yes, 1, 2, 3. Ah! Oh my God. Yo, my tears are always ready to come
Hello.
out. Okay. Hello.
Thank you, Betty. I'm here. Yes, congratulations. I just want to ask a question. So when you went to that therapist and she offered you a medication, what went in your head? Because that's what I experienced in my clinic. I'm a board-certified
Yes.
psychiatric mental health nurse
Yes.
practitioner. My name is Dr. Taye. So I struggle with my clients when it comes to medication. So what was your experience like?
Yes, Dr. Aiden, thank you so much for coming, by the way. So to answer your question, Dr. Aiden, I usually talk with doctors about this exact thing, which is, I think her intention with the doctor's intention was to help me stop the pain immediately, right? That was because she saw that I was crying, felt like it was too much, but for me, I don't cry all the time. She doesn't know that, right? I was crying at that moment because it felt like she's a stranger. I've never met her, so I can actually release everything. And she, on the first call, gave me medication. So that tells me her intention was the quick Band-Aid, just so that I could survive. I didn't want that. Had this conversation been, hey, let's talk. What's going on? How often do you cry? And I understand that even within our culture, emotions are such taboo. Crying is a no-no for us. And so I think I understand her intention, having, worked with a lot of doctors and talked to a lot of doctors. You tell me a symptom, I'm going to give you a solution. I think that was her intention. But for me, I don't cry all the time, and you didn't understand that, and you decided to give me medication as the first result, and that's not, listen, if I have a headache, we're going to wait this out. We're going to try to figure out why the headache is in here to begin with. That's how I am, and I don't think we had built enough rapport for me to trust her medication recommendations. Having said that, I have friends that have taken medication for these type of, different types of mental health issues, right? I know that there is a lot of support in that. But for me, on the first talk and the first time talking to a specialist, we don't have enough. You don't know me like that, is what I said, basically. You don't know me like that to give me medication, lady. Yeah, so that's why. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to do some programs with you, Dr. Nidan. Okay. There's one person raising her. Two. Oh, my God.
I promise I'll give it back to you. Okay. I'll forward to her once I'm done with my question.
Okay.
One behind me? I knew it was someone behind me.
Hey, big sis.
Hi, sis.
Congratulations
Thank
again.
you.
We're proud of you. It's such an honor to be able to look up to you.
Thank you, sis.
Question: as a woman who has worked on herself authentically, dealing with a lot of external factors and still dealing with them, and being a mom and being a successful woman in this environment internationally, what is your advice for young women, or heck, people in general who are working through their traumas and popular external struggles? What would you say? What would you say to yourself that would have made the journey clearer, if not easier for you?
Thank you so much, sis, for coming. Hi, baby. Looking back to the version of me that was struggling, what I would tell her is, you are exactly where you are meant to be. You are exactly where you are meant to be. That this exact, like, a lot of us, I was having a conversation about this, a lot of us hold a piece to a puzzle that we don't realize is a piece to a puzzle that we need, that's going to help us solve the next part of our life. A lot of us, whether it's relationships, experiences. If you had told me that this book was going to be birthed when I was going through that, I would have looked at you sideways, okay? But you are exactly where you are meant to be. And that I really believe there are no accidents. I believe that wholeheartedly now. Because I met you that day when I was doing that performance, right, at Kenilworth, and now we're going to do a program on Wednesday. Like, that was not my intention. I was exactly where I needed to be. I was supposed to fly out when we met. I was supposed to fly out that day. Ended up taking a performance in Kenilworth Park, and I met this lovely sister who is doing some amazing work with performances, Pan-African style. Yes. So my answer is, we are exactly where we're meant to be. And I would like to add, it doesn't feel like that all the time, okay? And that's okay. It's okay that it doesn't feel like that. Just keep reminding myself. I reminded myself, like, I kept saying, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe this is my life. And then it switched to, like, I'm thankful that I am dash, right? Like, I'm thankful that I can handle this. I'm thankful that I'm realizing that this is heavy for me. Like, I used to be thankful that I recognized that this is heavy for me. Isn't that, it sounds a little mental, right? But those words are very important, yeah, because you're telling yourself, like, hey, you're still planting yourself in gratitude instead of despair. And that's a very big part. It depends, like, it impacts the way we show up mentally, physically. So you are exactly where you're meant to be. You're all supposed to be here. You didn't come, but you came. You know what I mean? Exactly. Who is the next person?
I do.
Okay, it's she. Danny, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, listening, through your testimony, the one phrase that came up into my head repeatedly was resilience. And so, going through those heavy seasons, as you mentioned in your story, for some people, I realize that if you're going through hardship, it's a pendulum, right? It could go either left or right. So you can be living in the clouds, or dark clouds rather, staying in your rainy season and just, dwell in there. Or going through hardship can make you the opposite, right? Make you a positive person. So the Betty that we see now, was this organically the Betty that we saw before your hardship? Or is the hardship making the Betty that we see now you? Thank
Look
you.
at you putting me on the spot, man.
Sorry.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have one of my sisters is here. She's known me for 20 years. My son thinks I'm 28, so she knew me since I was 8. That's I'm still the same bubbly person. I've always been bubbly. I've always been smiley. I've always been very energetic. I've always been an extrovert. But my driving force is very different now. Like, I'm doing it because that's really what I want to do. Like, I'm not, when we were kids, I realized when we were kids, I used to be like, oh, somebody's here. Come dance for them. And you do skills. I was horrible back then, by the way. It's not, I didn't have the skills I have today, okay? But I realized, like, that plays a huge role on how I showed up. So I felt like I was always on stage, every place I went to. But now, I don't have to be on stage. I'm going to do this because I want to do it. And I don't have this feeling of, like, needing to perform to achieve something, right? I think that's been the biggest part of my healing journey. This version of me is, I'm doing it because I authentically want to do it, not because I'm trying to appease anybody here, right? The old me would have been like, maybe I should get up and dance. Maybe I should, like, because they're not smiling and or maybe do I want, whoa, that's, like it takes up a lot of mental real estate when you're doing that. And it's emotionally and physically exhausted. So what I'm saying is, when I'm sitting here, I really want to be here. When I'm talking to you, I really want to talk to you. When I'm doing, I also do MC events. I host a lot of like large stages. So I'm literally on stage. I know what I just said right now. But even when I'm in there, it's not about me, right? It's about the event. So it shows up. I showed up so differently. And the word for this year, my word for this year is free. Free. Like I'm free. So I've never, ever thought I would come to Sankofa, a place like Sankofa that I respect so much, to have a conversation about my book. I would have never thought that. But I am free, so I feel free. So whatever limiting beliefs that were holding me back from asking for this opportunity, I broke of that. So even though my automatic response would be like, "Hey, Betty, this is Sankofa, highly Karima spot where you think," and I'm like, "But why can't you?" Right? Like, why can't you do that? I'm gonna shoot my shot. And I had a friend of mine that actually said this, and I think I'll go to the next person, that said to me, "Betty, why don't you go to Sankofa?" Fun fact, this book was released 2 years ago. This book was released 2 years ago. So some of you might already have the book. But 2 years ago, on the day I was supposed to do a release, my youngest sister got sick, and we ended up going to New York. And then after that, like, the roller coaster of life started happening. And it wasn't until I hosted Jami's book launch, I think that's how you were there. She was like, "You have a book?" And I was like, "Yeah." What do you mean? You have to do a release. What are you talking about? So I'm thankful for friends like that show up and say, just because you didn't do it, Skahun, until now, doesn't mean you're not going to get it done now. So I wanted to give that a shout out to. Then maybe we can do 2 more questions. I think there was one person. Yes, sis. Hi.
Can you? Okay.
Mic check.
My question has more to do with, you talked about the different cultures and subcultures you've been a part of and moving between those spaces. A lot of times when we're suffering, it's in the context of what we're feeling doesn't sit right or fit right in the environment we're in. I'm wondering what tools or experiences you may have pulled from the different cultures you've been a part of that added or supported your healing, things that you might have, because I hear you talk about dance and other things. What were those things that sustained you and supported your healing?
Sis, yes, high five. That was such a good question. So one of them is, so within our Ethiopian culture, coffee brewing is such a big thing. And coffee, the scent of it, helps you become mindful and present, so you're not lost in your head. I had frankincense. I ran out of frankincense at home because I use it all the time. As part of my healing journey, I put frankincense 3-4 times a day in my house, 3-4 times a day, because it reminds me that to be here, not to be everywhere else in my head, that my brain, I joke with my mom and say, "Mommy, you just went somewhere in your mind. You didn't even take a visa. You didn't take a passport. You just went back home." Oh, you about to put more? My man. I appreciate that. So yes, I take that. I actually roasted coffee this morning before I came here. I roast coffee at home, so I roast it to smell it. The sense of it, the scent helps us be mindful. It helps us be present. It's very, because Sankofa is what it is, I was just like, mind you, I've been on very large stages, okay? But talking very intimately about your own wellness journey could feel a little overwhelming. So I was washing, so like when we roast coffee, you wash the beans. So washing the beans with your hands, being present. You see the color of the changing of the water, being present. You're noticing that. So your brain is no longer doing all these other acrobatic things that it's doing. Instead, it's paying attention, because you got to see if the coffee beans are washed and clean enough to be roasting. And when you're roasting, You have to see the aroma, you smell the aroma, but you also have to see the beans changing. What color do you want? Do you put them on high? Do you want them brown roasted, dark roasted? You're paying attention to all that. And then you grind, and when you grind it, we use mukancha. I don't do that, okay? I have a grinder. But after you grind it, you smell it, so that smell brings you here. So that was such a big part of my wellness journey, my healing journey for me. I did that a lot. I also do dance, Ethiopian cultural dance. I used to teach. I've done some performances. I danced a lot. It helped birth the program that I have now called Wes Wellness. Wes means movement. Ethiopian dancing, literally you dance from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. So it's like somatic release of things that we hold on to. So a lot of us hold on to anger out here, anxiousness out here. We dance a lot with our shoulders, right? We hold on to a lot of emotions. I said grief is back here. Also part of when you're dancing, it's not just the shoulders. It's also like this part of your spine because they go up like this. So there's a release of that. Walaita is all, I'm almost about to get up and dance for y'all. Listen. So Walaita is with the hips. It helps you release the emotions that you have here. Guraginya is with the feet. So you are literally, your whole body is moving. I danced a lot. I danced when I was pregnant, which is why my kid cannot sit still when he hears music. I dance. I have a video which I will post online after this conversation. I was overdue by like 3 days and he wasn't coming out. I was like, Dimbi, let him be. And I was dancing, trying to get him out. So I danced a lot of that. I was not very good at, like, I tell people to do journaling, but I'm not the best at journaling because my brain, it feels like, is going too fast for my hands can't catch up. But my medium of expression is talking. So I would record myself talking about the things that I'm feeling. It helped me get those out. And then eventually out, like this is my notebook. I just started writing again, just kind of things that I'm feeling and prayers, because it's a fasting season for us now. So just prayers that I have, I write those down. I also grew up in New York. It's very diverse cultures. I'm also American, not just Ethiopian, right? So there's a huge part of that place. Like Black culture is to me, is very similar to Ethiopian culture because it is also very communal. So one of my best friends, she calls me, we pray. Like when I can't pray, she prays for me. Like when I tell her this is what it is and she finds the words to pray for me. She's not Ethiopian. So it helps me, and that is a big, like the church plays a huge role in the Black culture, right? So that plays, thank you so much, that smells so good. See, the present. So that's frankincense, by the way. Yeah, this is the one I ran out of, so this is a good one. Frankincense is very good for mindfulness. Some people even eat it. We don't. We just, okay, some people drink it. I'm not judging if they do, I'm just saying we don't. It's not cultural. So those are the things that I've done, and because I've done those things, that have helped me bring some of those into Kinatbeit, my organization. So I'm now in the process of taking the Wes Wellness into schools, Wes Wellness into different environments to help people release the stress in their body, but you don't feel like you're like, working, releasing body parts. Like there is a deep breath work that's associated with that because I did a lot of deep breathing. That's not in our culture. Like that's not Ethiopian culture. Take a deep breath. No, our culture is because it's very God-centric. You go to church. The church has a lot of frankincense. So part of our prayers and our qadasi, our hymns, the voice that we use is not like head voice. It's very amen, very deep. So that is in itself, the vibration is in itself is very releasing. It's very healing. That's not what we're taught of. But I just know because I've learned different modalities that the role that it plays for us in that way. Thank you for asking that. I've never talked about that either. Girl, that was great. Okay, last one. I think we can do one last question. Thank you so much. Can't see you. Oh, that was the table. Hi.
Yeah. Hello, how you doing? So I heard you talk about the modalities.
Yes.
And some of these modalities, mindfulness, come from other cultures. Then you have modalities within Ethiopian culture. Have you integrated those into a daily routine? And would you mind sharing some of what your daily routine might look like?
Yeah. Thank you so much for asking that. Ethiopia is a very old nation, and it is filled with so many cultures. And so each culture has its own practices, right? For example, one of the practices that we have is when a mother gives birth, she doesn't go anywhere for 40 days. 40 days, my man. She's just chilling. Okay. She does nothing. She has her whole, the women in her community, they come, they take care of her. She eats a lot of gumfo, a lot of like the food that they say that you're supposed is to help her heal her body. Listen, okay, I was out after 5 days. I was like, it's time to go to the doctor. Let's go to the doctor. I'm not gonna lie, I did have on my heels when I finally went to I did have heels on because I didn't understand about that culture. I grew up here. But I will say, like, those are the very traditional cultures. And then there is, our faith plays a huge role in our Ethiopian culture, huge role. So whatever your belief system is, whether you're Christian or Muslim, prayer is a huge part. So for me, prayer, I've learned that prayer looks very different for me. Like the idea of sitting there for an hour, I can't. I'm not there yet. I'm not developed in that yet. I'm not. Like if you know, you know. That's a lot. One, because I gotta get up and feed my kid. Like I have to be quick. But I will say, part of the prayers, there is a prayer book. For example, Mary's Prayer, I think, Wudasse Mariam is Mary's Prayer. It is a prayer that has one for every single day. So when you don't have the words to pray, saying that prayer is enough for me. That was very important when I didn't know how to pray. Another one is I listen to a lot of gospel music. My faith, okay. Until recently, this is part of my aha moment of my healing, I would have never talked about my faith. I would have never talked about that because I know every person's faith is different, right? But I realized that I was not being honest. I wasn't being authentic. My faith played a huge role in my healing journey. Learning to speak to the Lord was very important for me. And I didn't know how to do that a lot of times. So when I didn't know how to pray, I would listen to gospel music. The words from there were like prayers for me. And they were very important. And through those words, it helped me cry. And once I cry, like I can finally think, right? I can think, I can plan, I can do. And this was a very big thing that I've noticed, like I suppress a lot of emotions, like most of us do. We suppress a lot. One of the ways I suppress is by, watching Netflix. That's a suppression, by the way, or social media. When you feel overwhelmed, you don't even know where to begin. So I've learned to play a song that lands for me, and it helps me transition from that space. I've also after my sister passed, this kind of is a little bit off, but I want to tie it back. When my sister passed, it was very, very heavy for me. I could not do it. She's resting in New York. So when I came back here, I remember that my son could no longer see his mama. The only thing he kept seeing was my grief. I just could not let him experience that. Like I know my window of tolerance for things became so small because the grief was so heavy. Like I didn't have enough to be patient with my 5-year-old son, being a 5-year-old son, right? Like, why can't you just, grow up and do the things like what? I quickly, Vipassana meditation, I went to a 10-day, it was free. So I was very thankful for that. But it was a 10-day quiet meditation, and I learned to breathe and pay attention to my breath work. And it helped me, I connected with myself again. I understood like where I am in place of the Lord and how much I'm loved. That was very important for me. So that's a huge modality that I use at home. But the frankincense and stuff, this is modality. But even though this is not per se for that, coffee ceremony is literally a ceremony. There are 3 rounds. So when you invite somebody to a coffee ceremony, it's roasted and all those things that we do. People also sit down and talk. So that is a way for us to, it's a form of therapy for us, even though it's not titled therapy, right? So you also create a sense of community with people, that you feel loved when you're there. You're drinking, and then at the end, you know what we do? That's why I wanted this coffee to be brewed today. You get blessings. If you're the one who roasted the beans and who did the coffee, you get blessings. So the person is now blessing you, blessing your house, blessing everything. So those type of modalities for me, when I can't do anything, when I feel overwhelmed, I'll just go have coffee with somebody. And that helped me, even if we don't talk about anything that I'm going through, just knowing that somebody was there was very important for me. Yeah. Thank you so much for asking. I think in the interest of time, because believe it or not, they have other things to do in this business, I'll be signing books, I think, here. I just want to say, Xavier Barcacho, God bless you. Thank you so much for coming. This book, by the way, has 3 pages at the end. That's empty. And it's upside down. It has 3 pages at the end that's empty. And my hope is that you will write your whatever poem that comes to you at the end of this book. And let me tell you a side note about that. When we were kids, we were not allowed to write on books, okay? So I'm helping break that for me and for you to write on this book. Write a poem, gratitude, whatever emotion that you have, whatever you feel, however these words land for you, write them here. Write them here and then keep writing, keep releasing, find your own modality. I love to end with the blessing. Cultural, right? So I'm going to bless you, even though they say the older people ones is the one that comes true. I have an old spirit, so let's go with that. I pray that you are blessed, your day is blessed, that wherever you walk into, you are loved and you feel loved. I hope that you continue to connect with yourselves in the purest, most beautiful, most vulnerable way. And then I pray that you find yourself and you'll see yourself in love, because you are loved so, so, so much. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to cry again. Okay. Thank you so much. I will be signing books.
Yeah, so anybody who want to buy the book, you can buy it from the front, and if you want the signature, you can line up on this side, and then she can sign the book.
I was about to give you all the wrong information. Purchase books there, sign here. Okay, good. Thank you.